I answered questions, and if you don't want to hear the answer, don't ask me the questions. And for those people who said that it was uncomfortable to witness or to hear, I lived it. All you had to do was hear my very PG rated version on the stand. I had to relive it. I had to say it in court in front of all these people, knowing that it would be public record, that my daughter is going to read this, that everybody's going to read this. And preparing for the case, remember, I had to go back and think about all these details and make sure that I had everything absolutely accurate. And it is important because it proves that I was telling the truth.
That was Stormy Daniels' first TV interview following Donald Trump's conviction in the Manhattan District Attorney case. And she did that interview with Rachel Maddow there, talking about her experience testifying on the stand. Stormy continued to strike back at Donald Trump's lies and defamation directed at her in this interview, and she explained why it was important to provide some of these specifics about Donald Trump, because Donald Trump lies about everything, and she was under attack by him, and so she needed to make sure everybody knows that she was telling the truth. Watch what she has to say.
And preparing for the case, remember, I had to go back and think about all these details and make sure that I had everything absolutely accurate. And it is important because it proves that I was telling the truth. And maybe this is too far for our conversation right now, but for all those people who like to drag me about talking about what his genitals look like, don't you think for a second that I wish there was something else I could prove? I wish he had a birthmark that looked like the state of Texas on his shoulder, or a funny looking mole. That's the only thing that proves that he did take his clothes off in front of me.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do that if he hadn't, that I was lying, he'd have whipped his junk out a long time ago and proved that I was a liar. And it's the only thing I have. And he knows I'm telling the truth, which is why he wanted to shut me up.
Stormy went on to talk about the death threats and threats of violence that she and her family experience as a result of Donald Trump's violent mob MAGA base. Here's what she had to say. Play the clip.
My mailbox was destroyed. My animals have been injured. My daughter can't go outside. There's press and looky-loos out there. I'm afraid to go outside. I'm afraid to go out and mow the lawn. I can't go anywhere. I'm afraid of being followed.
Yeah.
The death threats are so much more graphic and detailed and brazen. Like, people don't care. And it's scary, and leading up to the trial was hard enough, like flying up here repeatedly and sitting in the rooms and going through things and reliving all these terrifying moments. The only thing that kept me going, I guess, was thinking that there was an end in sight.
Yeah.
And there's not.
Donald Trump had continually attacked Stormy Daniels. He referred to her as a horse face and said it over and over again at different speeches. Called her a horse face, said no affair. And he continued to argue that nothing ever happened with her at all, and that everything was made up, everything was a lie. I understand that corporate media wants to spend their time focused entirely on citing unnamed sources attacking President Biden. And I understand the corporate media wants to spend 5 editorials devoted to President Biden, attacking him in every way. But when it comes to Donald Trump calling a woman a horse face over and over again, I guess that's acceptable discourse right now for corporate media. And I guess for corporate media, when they go home to their families, to their sons and their daughters and grandkids, I guess it's acceptable for them to have the leader of a major political party harassing a woman who he had sexual relations with and calling her a horseface. Here's just Donald Trump saying it in one speech. Play this clip.
The District Attorney of New York, under the auspices and direction of the Department of Injustice in Washington, D.C., was investigating me for something that is not a crime, not a misdemeanor, not an affair. I never liked horseface. It's just not. It's a terrible thing. That wouldn't be the one. There is no one. We have a great First Lady.
Here's Donald Trump, just so you see, he says this in speech after speech. He would call her a horse face. Here's another one. Play this clip.
To bring charges against me for now ancient, no affair story of Stormy Horseface Daniels. No attraction. No affair. I call it no affair. Where there is no crime anyway.
And prior to the criminal trial, Stormy was asked what she thinks about Donald Trump referring to her as a horse face. And here is what she said. Play this clip.
This is like our president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen, outing to the world that he has a penchant for bestiality, because this is a guy who chased me for sex repeatedly and then says I look like a horse face. Like, how do you talk about the looks of someone that you were attracted to without making yourself look bad? I mean, it was hilarious.
The fact that we have someone like Donald Trump continually refer to her as a horse face over and over again is despicable, in the fact that it gets zero attention by the corporate media, and we here at the MeidasTouch Network have to bring it up over and over again. Speaks volumes. Donald Trump would also post things like this prior to the trial. I did nothing wrong in the horseface case. I see she showed up in New York today trying to drum up some publicity for herself. I haven't seen or spoken to her since I took a picture with her in the golf course in full golf gear, including a hat close to 18 years ago. She knows nothing about me other than her con man lawyer Avenatti and convicted liar and felon jailbird Michael Cohen may have schemed up, never had an affair with her, just another false acquisition by a sleazebag. Witch hunt, exclamation point. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't know how to spell, although it's perhaps Freudian, referring to it as an acquisition, and it was a payment, a hush money payment, falsification of business record case. Well, Donald Trump was convicted by a jury of his peers. The jury believed Stormy. The jury believed Michael Cohen, but Donald Trump had to go to the United States Supreme Court, right-wing controlled court, bought and paid for by the Federalist Society. He says, you know what? Jury verdicts, the law, the idea that no one's above the law in America, screw that. Just give Donald Trump absolute presidential immunity for everything. He can order SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponents. He can order the military to massacre whoever he wants. As long as it's official conduct, they see nothing wrong with it, according to the Supreme Court. I just want you to think about, when I think about Stormy's interview right there, I think about character. Right. And I think about Donald Trump, who we know is engaged in all of this conduct, goes into, he holds his events at churches now, and then he curses at the churches, the places of worship. He encourages the crowd to chant curse words over and over again in places of worship. This is what he does. Here, play this clip.
So they come up with this order. I won't say it because I don't like using the word bullshit in front of these beautiful children. So I won't say it. I will not say it. But this thing allows millions of people.
I also reflect on Donald Trump's statements as well. And you think about Stormy's experience. Just here's what Donald Trump had to say about Lindsay Lohan. I believe she was 17 years old at the time when Donald Trump made this statement. She may have just turned 18 or had been turning 18. But Donald Trump says, you'll hear what he says about sleeping with women who have mental health problems, and he thinks that's good. Here, play this clip.
What do you think of Lindsay Lohan now?
I think she's hot.
There's something there, right?
Yes.
But you have to like freckles. I've seen a close-up of her chest.
Yes.
And a lot of freckles. Are you into freckles?
If the father's a wreck, like the way he is,
right.
You imagine the sex with this troubled...
Yeah, you're probably right. She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed.
Back in the day...
How come the deeply troubled women,
yes,
deeply, deeply troubled,
right,
they're always the best in bed? If for some reason what I said is true, I mean, they're just unbelievable.
I can tell from the...
You don't want to be with them for the long term.
You have that. You also have Donald Trump talking about walking in on women in his beauty pageants that he owned and inspecting their naked bodies without consent. He brags about that. It's on audio tape. Here, play this clip.
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. You know, I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like
everything
a
is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
And then for those who have been watching these videos, you've seen that I've done whole videos on Trump's Epstein connections, the recent drop of Epstein grand jury documents. You've seen those. This one really, and they're all sickening. It's all disgusting. This 1991 Look of the Year competition that Donald Trump held, and he hosted this event on a yacht. And The Guardian described this event as little girls running around on the yacht with men old enough to be their grandparents. Trump was 45 years old at the time, and other men old enough to be their grandparents grinding on these little girls. And it was just a horrific story. This was the competition, the 1991 Look of the Year competition that Trump hosted. And when the Guardian articles describing the little girls on the yacht in this party for the Look of the Year event, they're talking about people like this. I'm going to call it out every day. I'm not going to remain silent on this. And you, the Meidas Mighty, should not as well. This is sickening, disgusting stuff. And Trump's a disgusting human being. And we're going to call it out each and every day, tirelessly, relentlessly, with truth and democracy on our side. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million together. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.